All right. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from, and welcome to this week's mobile coaching stream. My name is Patrick France, Senior Instructor here at VectorVest, and I'll be your host for today's session. Hopefully, everybody is doing well. Hopefully, everybody had a good long break from last week since we weren't live last week, but we are back this week, kicking things off. Going to be talking about support resistance and taking a look at, the most um crowd or the best crowd mentality indicator out there. So if you guys can hear me out there, let me know. Let me see those good mornings flying in the chat there. Good morning, Jay. Fireblazer, hopefully you're doing well. Good morning, Raymond. Drew, VV Nation, good morning. Hopefully you're doing well, Drew. All right. So once again, everybody, welcome to our mobile coaching stream. Today, we're gonna be analyzing the overall market. Not really looking for individual stocks or anything like that, but analyzing the overall market. So if you guys like these sessions, as always, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, or like the page depending on where you're tuning in from. And if you're over on our Facebook page, make sure, as always, to share this out with all your friends and family so that way we can continue to grow this amazing community here. So without further ado, as let's go ahead, jump right into the VectorVest stock advisory app, analyze what's going on right now, then we'll dive into our topic of discussion, and then as always, we'll finish off with the fan favorite of analyzing any stock that you want to take a look at in less than 10 seconds. So jumping in right now, starting off at the very top center, as we can see, the Dow is only down about 1/4% so far here today. Nasdaq's turning into the positive, up about 1/3%. S&P 500 just broke above break even, so turning into the green. VectorVest Composite still down about 1/4%, but as we can see, all the major indices are picking up, gaining some steam, heading higher for the time being. Even with that market action, though, that has our needle 3 ticks into the red. So right now, the market is bearish, and VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. As always, if you ever want to see an update on what's going on in the market today, what news you need to be aware of for tomorrow, and how to prepare yourself for the next trading day, make sure to tune in to the daily color guard report found right here on the stock advisory app, so that way you can get all of that information and stay on top of things here. As we scroll down a little bit, getting into the color guard itself, that's where that market timing gauge gets its colors from. As we can see, well, actually, it looks like we're seeing the buy to sell ratio bouncing back to a yellow light currently instead of that red light. But we see the price of the VectorVest Composite, since it is lower day over day and week over week, we do have a red light there. Looking at the RT, once again, moving lower day over day and week over week. So the RT is red, which is looking at the short-term price trend of the market. Once again, it's cast on a scale of 0 to 2. So above 1 would indicate that the short-term trend of the market is up. Below 1 indicates that the short-term trend of the market is down. Then getting into the buy to sell ratio, which looks at the overall health of the market by analyzing the number of buy rated stocks in a database to the number of sell rated stocks in a database. Since it is below that level of 1, that tells us there's a lot more sells or sell rated stocks compared to the buy rated stocks, or there's overall market weakness. Now, the trends of these 3 indicators are comprised to come up with our MTI or our market timing indicator. It's cast on a scale of 0 to 2 and is looking at the underlying trend of the market. So as we can see, the MTI is moving lower day over day and week over week, and it is below that level of 1. So the underlying trend of the market is down and still moving lower. Now, as we've talked about many times here, there's that saying, keep your eye on the MTI. Whenever the MTI gets to a level of 0.6, that tends to show the market starting to look for a bottom. Doesn't mean we've necessarily hit that bottom quite yet. Just means we need to start being prepared for some sort of reversal sign that the market's, officially hit that bottom and starting to take back off. Whether that be a green light in the price column of the color guard, whether that be looking at support resistance like we're going to do here today, or some other blend of analysis here that could help you gain that upper edge, whether it be candlesticks, technical indicators, all of that here. All right, so after the trend or after the MTI, we then get the trend column, which shows 2 parts of the trend each and every day. Now, the first part of the trend is looking at the short term or simply weekly trend of the market. We call this the primary wave, and as we can see, the primary wave is down since the price of the VectorVest composite is lower than what it was compared to 5 trading days earlier. Second part of the trend is looking at the underlying trend of the MTI, and since the MTI remains below 1, the underlying trend of the market will remain down as well. Then after that, we finish off with the calls column, which stands for our confirmed calls, and our confirmed calls are our most conservative timing system here. They're our last signal we get to get into the market and our last signal we get to get out. So therefore, we never want to ignore a confirmed call change. Well, right now, we still remain in that confirmed down situation. So last thing we want to take a look at here on the homepage is the advanced declines. As always, looking at the advanced declines is a great way of keeping up to date with whether or not today is a good day to be buying or not a good day to be buying. If you're looking for a good day to be buying, what you want to look for is a 2-to-1 bias. So you want to see twice as many stocks advancing than declining. That tells you have the probability in your favor that the stock you get into on that day would be moving higher with the overall market. Now, just the opposite. If you're going to be playing the market to the downside, you want to see twice as many stocks declining than advancing. Well, right now we're sitting at about 40% of stocks moving higher, 47% of stocks moving lower, and the rest unchanged. So therefore, we don't have that 2-to-1 bias we're really looking for here today. Good morning, Matt. Hopefully you're doing well. Crazy intraday volatility once again seems to be the name of the game here today, or this last few weeks even. Let me make sure. There we go. Hey, Fireblazer. It's okay. We all got to be there at some point. All right. So if you guys are tuning in on the Facebook side, make sure to say hello. Don't be a stranger. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to smash that like button. Share this out with all your friends and family so that way we can once again continue to grow this awesome community here. Hey, Chris, there we go. Now I'm starting to see the comments coming in. Market is really scary. Well, luckily you got VectorVest on your side. Hey there, Rep. Hopefully you're doing well. It's not showing up for me on Facebook. Should be. Looks like everything's working fine here for that. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our topic of discussion. So today we're going to talk about, once again, the best crowd mentality indicator out there. Maybe asking yourself, why do I care about what everybody else is doing? Well, money goes where money grows. And if you're seeing a major change into, a change into the buying and selling of a stock or the overall market, that can really help you identify, when the overall mentality of being bearish turns to bullish and vice versa. So that way it can help you time your entries a little bit more precisely here. Herd mentality, another name for it as well. But at the same time, if you're seeing markets starting to move lower like they have been, and all of a sudden we hit a major level of support and you see a strong bounce off of that support level, that could indicate that there's some strength behind that move. It can get you in a little bit quicker there. So let's go ahead, click on the VectorVest composite, and pulling it up right now, what we see here is a 3/8 exponential moving average based off the price shown in candlesticks here. And at the bottom, we have the RT or relative timing, which is looking at the short-term price trend of the overall market. So as we can see, ever since roughly the middle of February, roughly, we have seen the timing or the short-term price trend turn down, showing that the short-term trend of the market is now moving lower. And since that point, the market has been steadily declining here. Now, over the last few days, we have seen some pretty tall tails on the end of these, or the bottom of these candlesticks, indicating a lot of buying pressure off of those lows. Well, let's go see if that correlates to any support resistance zones that could help us get a better picture of where we're currently at in the market. So if we tap on that little gear icon in the upper left, go down to support resistance. Right now, my settings I have based off of 100 bars of data, so 100 days. Price type using the high and low rather than just the close, so the difference between the two. Number of touches required, I have 2. Size of the reversals set for medium. Size of the zones, average. So basically taking the middle ground of everything here. Then I do have unbroken and broken lines showing. So broken lines are lines that have been pierced by a candle, but bounced off of that quickly after. What it didn't stay there for very long. So it will show the ones that are no longer in play, or maybe may have been in play earlier, that could potentially come back, that could be useful to take a look at. Not from the West, but I do have a lot of family out there. All right, so let's go ahead and just simply turn it on, go back, and let's go look at a 3-month chart. So for anybody that watched the VectorVest views just a few days ago, or last week, I believe it was, they talked about support resistance, how the price of the VectorVest composite was close to that support resistance level. We clearly broke through that. Now retesting this level down here, right above that $54 mark on the VectorVest composite. As you can see, when you tap on it, it does give you a little circle indicating where it touched that support resistance zone, so you can identify the touches that the line is being created off of a little bit easier. And as we can see, it's hit once. That would have been Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. So it hit once on Monday. Yesterday closed right at that support level. We broke down below that point and then managed to climb back and close right at that level. And then today we broke down below that point, but now starting to pick back up. So this support level right around 54 and some change. And if we want to see the exact level, we can go here, 54.42 roughly, or excuse me, 54.04. So we'll call that 54.05 just to make it a nice round even number. And as you can see, so that support resistance zone is right around 54.05. Well, today we're trading at 54.44, so we are trading slightly higher. Well, actually, excuse me, let me recalculate that. Open or high 55, low 54. So 54.50 roughly would be that middle ground, the difference between the high and the low. So that's where that support resistance zone is coming from. So 54.50, we are right below that level as I speak. And if the market keeps climbing the way it's climbing right now, we could see us close back above that support zone. Mark is asking, where can you find the recordings on this? So Mark, after every stream, you can go back and watch the replays directly on our Facebook page under the video section, or on the YouTube channel, either one. They should be recorded and posted right after the stream ends. All right, so this tells us we have a pretty strong support level that's been tested 3 times now in the last, or since the beginning of this week, and we still continue to hold. Well, that's a fairly decent sign, especially when you see those long wicks or long tails on those candles indicating a lot of buying pressure. So if you're nervous about the markets and you say, well, we just saw crazy big down days the last couple of weeks, maybe I should probably hold off on this for right now. If you see this, this would be a sign that maybe you should start dipping your toes in the water, getting, adding a little bit to your portfolio. If it breaks down and closes below that support level, that shows that it's it failed to hold that level, and you can dump it quickly, but at least you gain a little bit of exposure and you can add more as it starts to pick up and move higher. But at this level, you have some decent opportunity to be able to, start dipping into the market a little bit and then building that position as it continues to go up. And then if it doesn't, you've got a fail safe. You now have a line of sand. For anybody who's part of our jockey club, you'll know what I'm talking about. But you have a line of sand, which is essentially a level of support or a close level that you can use as your stop price, essentially. So using that support resistance zone, saying, hey, if it closes below this support, then I'm going to close out my position. My position may take a little bit of a loss, but at least I'm not going to, leave it unmanaged, let it potentially turn into an even bigger loss. Cut it quickly, move on, wait for a better opportunity to arise here. I only build sandcastles, not lines. Well, Fireblazer. Luckily for you, the VectorVest stock advisory app automatically draws those lines for support and resistance for you, so you don't even have to do anything. All you gotta do is just turn it on. All right. So 100 bars, 100 days of data, about half of a year roughly is what it's basing it off of because there's 250 trading days in a year. So let's say we wanted to look at a little bit maybe longer term support levels. Well, what we can do is go change those settings. But one last thing I want to point out before we do, we also have this support level down here. So, if we break down below the 54.50 or level roughly, you do have support coming in right around 53.42 or so, or 53.50. So another dollar down from where the current level that we're trading at is. So if you get in now and you say, okay, I want to give it a little bit more wiggle room, the 54.50, it could easily close right below that since we're right at that level as we speak. So you want to give it a little bit more room to really develop. Well, you could use this support as your line in the sand, your final signal to say, okay, market's not really continuing to go up. I need to cut my loss now, move on, wait for a better opportunity to arise, and free up that cash so that way I have more money to invest when the true bottom starts to come into play. But now, taking a look at a longer term perspective. So we go back into the settings, we go into support resistance. Let's say we're looking for a strong reversal and we want a very thin zone. So support resistance isn't a specific number, it's a zone, it's a range around give or take a little bit to the top and a little bit to the bottom of where a stock or the markets have hit multiple times. And so a thin zone is going to give you less signals, but more accurate signals, if you will, depending on how you're using it there. So we have all that set. Let's go ahead back and take a look. Now you can see we don't have 3 or 4 support resistance zones all by where price is currently trading at right now. We have a bit bigger zones that we can look at here. Well, from this perspective, we're seeing a little bit of concern right now. The major support resistance zones comes from right here. Let me go ahead. So the low is 54.76. So we'll call that 54.75 roughly. Well, we're clearly trading below that level as we speak. One positive sign is, with the long tails we've seen on the last couple of days candles, that indicates that, we're trying to get back towards that level, retest it to see if we can get back above it. Now, if we fail to break above it and we start to pull away from that, that would be a clear warning sign that that support level is no longer in play. And if it isn't, look out. We have a long ways to go before we find that next level of support. So if we come take a look at where that next level of support is, it's based off of the low from back here on the 21st of October, and the low was sitting at 50.73. So we're talking a $4 difference on the VectorVest composite from where we're currently trading in that current support resistance zone that we're in that zone right now of, to that next leg lower if we can't get back above that 54.75. So this gives us a little bit more cause for concern when we look at a little bit more strict support resistance zones. Now, I will say this: if you're not familiar with support resistance and how to set up or how to change the settings or what all the settings mean, I highly recommend you head over to investopedia.com. Take a look. It's a great free website with tons of free information about how the indicators are created, so it can help you gain some edge or some ideas of how you want to set up your support resistance to fit your specific style of trading. All right, so as we've talked about, though, we've changed the how we identify the lines and how they're created. What if we want to take a look at more historical data to go off of instead of the last 100 days? Because the market's been pretty rough over the last year, really about 14, 16 months. So let's go 300 bars of data. It's going to be a little over a year, about a year and a quarter roughly. So we go back. We can zoom out to a 1 year time frame. And now we have a little bit different of a picture here. We have support showing here. And if we tap on that candle, actually, let's maximize it so you guys can see it out there. We bring our cursor over that candle here. There we go. Oh, 1 day off. Come on. May need to clean my screen out or screen off a little bit. There we go. It's sticking a little bit on me. All right, so the low 53.36. So we'll call that 53.40. Well, that's about $1 lower from where we are right now. And we can see we have a lot of consolidation around this point. We have 3 major support resistance zones all showing in between here and down here. So one could look at this and say there's a lot of headwind. One could also look at this and say there's a lot of potential areas that the market could start taking a pause at. So could be some interesting times to start slowly building a position instead of going all into a position at a time. Slowly build a position, and if it breaks that final support, then you just simply cut the position, abandon it, wait for a better opportunity instead of continuing to build that position up. Perfect. Hey, Lindsay, hopefully you're doing well. All right, so there's lots of different ways you can play around with support resistance, and VectorVest gives you a simple, easy to use interface to help get exactly what you're looking for. If you go up here, go back into the settings, play around with them. Find the ones that look best for you. Maybe instead of 2 touches, you say, I need at least 3 touches. So therefore, you need more confirmation to build a support line. Size of the reversal, you have to have a strong bounce off of that. So therefore, you're going to be stricter since you're doing more touches to begin with, saying strong. And then size of the zone, we'll go with average. And then at the bottom, one thing we haven't talked about is number of lines to show. You can do all, closest ones, closest 2, or closest 3. If you do all, you're going to get a lot of potential areas to look at. So it's best to typically keep it, 1, 2. 2 is max. Some people use 3, but I prefer 2 at the most. So play around with these settings. Take a look at it. We can see we definitely have some key areas to keep an eye on. And whenever you're using support resistance, just like with any technical indicator, once you use that, you found, okay, these are the settings I like the best for my personal style of investing, stick with that. If, let's say you're using the settings we have right now, and you have the support level down here around 53.73 or 75. Come on, highlight. There we go. And you're using that. Well, if we break down below that, don't say, well, I'm going to go change my settings to fit or to keep me in it longer. At that point, you're not following a plan. And as we always talk about, plan your trade and trade your plan. So if it breaks down below that, don't go and try to change the settings to move that support resistance line lower. Once you're in a trade, stick with that. And if it breaks, close the position, move on. Now, if you want to change your rules to your plan on the next trade, by all means, go for it. But don't change your rules and don't change your settings in the middle of a trade. Because I know we're looking at the VectorVest composite here today, but everything that we've talked about can still be based or can still be applied to individual stocks as well. Trade your plan and plan your trade. Exactly. Plan your trade and trade your plan. All right. So if you guys have any questions, are the support settings available in the VectorVest Basics? So Mark, everything that you're seeing here is all on the VectorVest Stock Advisory app, the premium version, not the premium plus, just the basic mobile version, and that's it. So as long as you have premium watch list, you'll have everything I have here. I'm not connected to a desktop account for this. So that way, any just strictly mobile users can join in and be able to do everything they see here on our weekly coaching streams. All right. So, once again, if you guys have any questions regarding support resistance, by all means, feel free to let me know. I'd be glad to answer them. If you're watching this on a replay, feel free to give our supporter call at 888-658-7638, and they'd be glad to answer your questions as well. So, if there's no other questions, let's go ahead and jump into the fan favorite of analyzing any stock that you want to take a look at in less than 10 seconds. So, if you guys have stocks you want to see analyzed, go ahead, start throwing those out there, and let's go ahead and start to analyze them here. Would you show the chart settings again for the support resistance? So, Jim, for which one? I've gone through a few different settings. This one that I'm looking at right now, we go into it, support resistance. I'm looking at 300 bars, high low for the price type, number of touches required 3, strong reversals, average zone size, and then closest to with broken and unbroken lines. Is the Premium Plus subscription new? Yeah, Chris, it's something new that allows mobile users to be able to also get the desktop application as well. It's something new that just got released not too long ago that got brought to my attention here. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and start to analyze some of these stocks you guys have. So we'll tap on the magnifying glass in the upper right and go AMD, which is first and foremost. So as always, we'll spend a little time with the first one, going over it, make sure everybody's on the same page, and then we'll show you how fast it can really make analyzing any stock out there. So for AMD, we start off, you get the price information. You can go take a look at the graph of the stock. And then our main information comes from the 4 indicators shown right below that little mini graph. Now, all 4 of these indicators are going to be cast on a scale of 0 to 2, and above 1 is good and below 1 is bad. So the first one we come to is RV, or relative value, which is looking at the long-term potential of the stock over the next 1 to 3 years. As we can see, RV is above 1, so that tells us the stock has good long-term potential over the next 1 to 3 years. Second indicator is the RS, or relative safety, which is looking at the amount of risk involved with this stock compared to the average stock out there. If a company is growing their earnings and beating their earnings estimates quarter over quarter, year over year, they're obviously going to have a better balance sheet, better financials, better fundamentals, so therefore less risk associated with it, or a higher RS rating. Well, AMD has an RS of 1.37, indicating less risk associated with it when compared to the average stock out there. Third indicator is the RT, or relative timing, looking at the short-term price trend of the stock. It's cast on a scale of 0 to 2, so above 1 would indicate the short-term trend of the stock is up, below 1 indicates the short-term trend of the stock is down. Now, RT is more of your technical indicator, and it doesn't just show whether the stock is up or moving lower on a short-term basis, but it also indicates the magnitude of that move. So since it's on a scaling of 0 to 2, above 1 the closer to 2 it is, the stronger the uptrend. Below 1 the closer to 0 it is, the stronger the downtrend. Last but not least, we get the VST, which stands for value, safety, and timing. This is a combination of the RV, RS, and RT all summed up into one. It's the only indicator out there that I'm aware of that analyzes a stock from both a fundamental and a technical perspective, all summarized into one here for you. So, as we can see, the overall VST rating is above that level of 1, currently at 1.31, indicating this stock is favorable on both a fundamental and a technical basis. All right. FAZ. Actually, before we get into FAZ, let's do one more ALB, because the family has been asking for this one for a little bit. So let's go ahead and get into it. ALB, looking at the 4 indicators at the bottom. Great long-term potential, less risk associated with the stock, but the timing is just not right. Even the best stocks go out of favor from time to time, and the timing tells us that. Overall, it's a good stock, but not the right time to be holding it long in our portfolios. In a matter of seconds, we now have usable information to make an informed decision off of, rather than just scads of data that we'd have to analyze, spend hours upon hours doing so to come up with usable information to make an informed decision on. All right, so FAZ. With an ETF, you don't have quarterly reports, don't have earnings, all of that. So therefore, the fundamental indicators, the RV and RS, are always going to be pegged at 1. So when looking at an ETF, all you have to do is focus on the RT. With FAZ, the RT is at 1.75, indicating a really strong short-term uptrend. So yeah, of course, this ETF is currently favorable. CMC, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. However, right now is not the time to be holding it long since it is in a steady decline. Overall, it's a good stock, just not the right time for it. JBL, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. Timing, though, basically flat. I'd like to see that timing at my personal preferences, 1.1 or higher. Below 1.1, so 1.1 to 1, I'd still probably have to pass on it. Everybody's a little bit different. At this point, you may hold, and if you're already into it, you may hold and wait and see if that timing picks back up. But personally, 1.1 is my personal cutoff, so I would pass on that one. Overall, it's a great stock. It still is moving slightly higher on a short-term basis, just not fast enough for my cup of tea. Good stock, but right now, I think I agree with the rating, giving it a hold here. All right, let's see. DRV. Once again, another ETF. So therefore, all you got to do is look at the timing. 1.33 tells us it's in a really strong short-term uptrend. So overall, this ETF is favorable right now. GOLD. Poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. It is in a steady decline, so overall the stock is not favorable. ET, good long-term potential, but a little bit more risk to get to that potential. You are, however, in a steady decline. Overall, because of that long-term potential, it's still favorable, but not the right time to be getting into it currently. NVDA. Poor long-term potential, but less risk associated with it. So more of a conservative stock. However, the timing, 1.73, really strong short-term uptrend. So if you're a momentum trader, another great play here. Overall, the stock is definitely favorable. AAPL. Apple, poor long-term potential, but less risk associated with it. Once again, more of a conservative play. Also, timing is right now for this one, since it is steadily moving higher and in a pretty strong short-term uptrend currently. So overall, the stock is definitely favorable here. Let's look at that one. Tesla, TSLA. Tesla, good long-term potential, great long-term potential actually. Less risk associated with it. New short-term uptrend. So overall, the stock is favorable. Do you think there is an RT that is too high and avoid buying the stock? Kevin, it depends on what you're looking to do. If you're a conservative investor looking to buy and hold for, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you're looking at getting into a stock and you see the RTs at 2, yeah, probably not the best entry for a long-term entry on that play. But if you're a momentum trader, somebody who's maybe in it for a day, maybe a week at most, or a day trader, you see a strong RT like that, that tells you there's some pretty strong momentum, and you don't really care whether it's going up or going down, if you can take advantage of it either way. So depends on your personal preference, depends on your investment style. If you're somebody who's willing to play a stock, long and short, no, not really. I wouldn't say there's a limit on that. All right. TECK. Tech. Great long-term potential, but a lot of risk associated with it. Also, it's in a steady decline, so therefore, stock is not favorable right now. NSIT. Good long-term potential, less risk associated with it. Nice, steady short-term uptrend. Really strong short-term uptrend, actually. So overall, the stock is definitely favorable. ZETA, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with this stock. You have been in a steady uptrend, but not enough to offset the amount of risk and poor fundamentals, so therefore the stock is not favorable right now. BLO, great long-term potential, less risk associated with it. However, the timing is off. Right now, energy stocks taking a little bit of a cooling right now, so therefore not the right time to be holding them long in your portfolio. Overall, it's a good stock, just not the right time for it at the moment. Let's see, TIO. TIO, great long-term potential, but does come with a lot more risk associated with it. Also, you aren't in an uptrend. You're slightly moving lower right now. So therefore, the stock is not favorable currently. Also, if you will, right now, I want everybody who's watching, make sure hit that like button. If you're over on our Facebook page, make sure to hit that share button and the like button there. And if you're not already following, turn on notifications so that way you get notified of all the live content we have coming out for you on a regular basis here. All right, so OZK, let's go ahead and take a look. OZK, great long-term potential, but does come with more risk associated with it. You are in a really sharp decline, so therefore the stock's average at best, but not the right time to be holding it in our portfolio. NAT, good long-term potential, but does come with more risk associated with it. You are in a slight uptrend currently, so therefore the stock is favorable. Oil, let's go take a look. Looking at an ETF for natural gas, so therefore RT is your key focus at 0.05, basically in a free fall. Right now is not the time to be in oil. TMF, another ETF, RT is at 1.13, nice steady uptrend, so therefore overall stock is favorable. DKS, average long-term potential, less risk associated with it, nice steady short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is definitely favorable here. AVGO, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it, nice steady short-term uptrends. Overall, the stock is favorable. ADBE, we'll do two more here. So ADBE, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it, but not the right time to be holding it long since the timing tells us the stock is in a short-term decline currently. Overall, it's a good stock, just not the right time to be long in it. And then last but not least, we'll do Mario's PPL. PPL, poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. You are in a steady decline, so therefore the stock is not favorable right now. All right, so if I didn't get to analyze your stock, I apologize. As always, if you're a current subscriber with the VectorVest Stock Advisory app, just simply sign into the app, tap on the magnifying glass in the upper right-hand corner, type in your symbol, and you can automatically do the same analysis we're doing wherever you're at on the go. If you're not a subscriber, click on the link down in the description below of today's stream and sign up for the 2-week free trial. Put it to the test. As the old saying goes, seeing is believing. Are you drinking beer? David, it's 11:38 here in the morning. No. I do have my Celsius, but no beer. I kind of cut back on the beer drinking over the last year or so. Do you consider whether VectorVest overvalued or undervalued? Jim, personally, no. But you know, there's a lot of people who do, and it's a different style of investing if you're going to be looking at overvalued, undervalued. For a long-term investor, overvalued, undervalued is definitely going to be a key element that you want to look at. Or a swing trader, also another element, but not quite as important as a long-term investor. For myself, I'm more of a speculative short-term trader. So therefore, you know, a stock that's overvalued can still continue to go up. I'm willing to take advantage of it as long as there's momentum behind it. So therefore, overvalued, undervalued doesn't really come into play for my personal style of investing. But that's not to say it's not important or that, you know, you shouldn't use it because not everybody trades the way that I trade. So hopefully that answers your question on that one. All right, looking at a recap of what's going on here in the markets now. The Dow is now back or turned into the green, up about 0.25%. Nasdaq's ripping higher, up 1 1/3. S&P's up 0.8%. VectorVest Composite up about 0.5%. That market action has changed our needle from 3 ticks into the red to 3 ticks into the yellow, but that still doesn't change our guidance that VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. Looking down here, we can see the price, the RT, and the buy to sell ratio have all improved significantly from when we started the stream this morning. MTI is also picking up now, even with what it was yesterday. Looking at the advanced declines, right now, 55% of stocks are moving higher, 33% of stocks are moving lower, and 12% of stocks unchanged. Still not at that 2-to-1 bias, but if the markets continue to move higher like they are, we could see that 2-to-1 bias kick in any moment now. So pay close attention to that. That should definitely help you out there. All right. One last reminder, we do have the VectorVest merch store. So if you want to pick up some VectorVest merch, make sure to use the link down below. Also, you can use the code Patrick23 to get an extra discount on that. So if you're looking for a mug, they're coming out with new baseball tees or 3/4 length tees. A lot of great items in there. So if you're wanting to pick them up, make sure to use code Patrick23 once again at checkout so you can save yourself some extra cash with the current market environments. I know everybody could use that. All right, so that's going to do it for me. Thank you all for tuning in here today. As always, Glenn Tompkins will be live at 2 o'clock Eastern with his Trending Thursdays, talking about all the major news that's impacting the markets and how to take advantage of it to make money throughout these current environments. So make sure to come back around 2 o'clock, hang out with Glenn. It's a great time. You're going to learn a lot. So come back, show him some support as well. And without further ado, that's going to do it for me today. So thank you once again, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you all have a great rest of your trading day. Be safe out there. Take care. Make sure to have a great long weekend coming up. Happy early St. Patty's Day before, if I don't see you guys tomorrow. And until next time, adios and toodles.